Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya wal mursaleen sayyidina wa nabiyyina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Welcome to this session. Originally, this session was just sort of going to be for the college essay boot camp and to give some context for the people who are not part of that. For the last 2 weeks, we have been having daily workshops with a group of about 30 remarkable Muslim high school seniors who are in the, getting ready to apply to college. And the goal of, all of this has been to give them this boot camp experience to get their application to their top choice school done in a really concentrated, 2 week kind of, 2 week program. What I want to talk about today, or what I'm going to talk about today, inshallah, is a way to get support beyond that. A way to get support, throughout your college process. And I'll talk a lot more about what that looks like. And that is why I invited a wider range of people to this. So inshallah, let me just get started. Share my screen. All right, let me make that full screen. I can. For some reason it's not going full screen. Okay. It keeps on getting out of full screen. Sorry. All right, there we go. All right. While we're waiting, could you guys just because we do have a new crew, could you share your name, where you're joining from, and then your favorite book? Okay. Your name, where you're joining from, and your favorite book. Could you just put that in the chat so we get to know who's with us? Okay, let's see these start to come in. So Nuh from Sharon, Life of Pi. Nice. I've taught that. My daughter's actually reading that. I can see that book from where I'm sitting here in my cabin in Maine. Mashallah. Very cool. Let's see. What else do we have? Bahia, Sharon, please look after mom. Nice, mashallah. So Zain from Westboro, Refugee, by Alan Gratz, mashallah, beautiful. Ibrahim from Houston, The Maze Runner. Reem Saeed from Virginia, As Good as Dead. Mashallah, parents are welcome to to tell us their favorite books too. It's always interesting. Dallas, Texas, The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. Ooh, I do not know that one. I think I need to add this. I'm an English teacher, so I'm always looking for more. Oh yeah, mashallah, The Midnight Library. Great one, Sumaya, mashallah. Mariam, Vancouver. Oh, excellent, mashallah. Reclaim Your Heart. Nice. Very, very cool. Okay, well, those are coming in. Let me just launch this demographic poll. Could you guys just please fill that in so I have a better sense of who's here, inshallah? And give me 1 second. I will be right back. If you're able to log in and man the sorry about that. All right, so about half the people have answered. Mashallah, it looks like we have mostly students so far. I was hoping some more parents would be here as well. All right, so you should see the poll. Most of you have filled it in. If you haven't filled it in yet, can you try to do so as soon as possible? give you another 10 seconds or so. I'll turn it off. Okay. So this is what we're seeing. It's mostly a student-heavy group, mashallah. I should have put CEB participants because I would have loved to see how many are CEB. I mean, I can see your names, but mashallah. All right, great. Let's keep on going. So as we usually do, let's just do our sort of Muslim grounding exercise. Take 1 minute to make a little bit of dua. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Ya Allah, please put khair and barakah in this time we have together. Ya Allah, I give great shukr to you for sending this wonderful group of Muslim students my way. Please let me fulfill the amana and the trust that they've put in me to help them through this college application process, and allow us to all grow together and go towards Jannat al-Firdaus and also achieve our dreams here in this dunya as well. Ameen. Okay. So as I always am telling the students, I know it's not the slide you might expect to see, but the difference between, I think, what I do with college counseling and everything and probably just about every other company is I'm trying to keep our eye on the prize, right? Our eye on the prize, true success is the success in the akhirah. And if we leave this world with iman, then we are successful. Right, and we're not going to actually put our college diploma or the name of where we went on our on our gravestone or anything like this, right? And it's not going to necessarily change how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us in the akhirah. Nevertheless, there's still very much a place with us, but we need to always begin with the end in mind. So the goal, as I've said many times, and what I'm really trying to do with this company and everything, is for us to become magnetic Muslims, right? Magnetic Muslims are people who attract khair and barakah to them, right? People who add to their high schools, who add to their college campuses. When you are around a Muslim who's fully engaged by the deen, and they have the nur shining from their face, and they really understand the deen, but they're also really striving for the highest levels of this dunya as well. You just want to be around those people, right? They're not that common. They're not, I haven't met that many, but one of the places I met a lot of them was actually when I was at Harvard. When I was at Harvard, there were quite a few students who were like the Hafiz of Quran and just have these amazing qualities and characteristics. Like many of our mentors in this program are like that as well. So that is the goal. So how do we do that, and where does the Ivy cohort? Just because we do have some new people, I'm going to very briefly introduce me and this company, and then get into all this stuff. So alhamdulillah, I became Muslim back in 1994 at the age of 15. My relatives came over on the Mayflower on both my mother and father's side. So as far as white Americans go, I'm about as American as they come. Alhamdulillah, I graduated from Harvard in 2001 with a degree in Near Eastern Languages and Civilizations. For the past 20 years, I've been in the field of education. Actually, now it's more than 20 years. Worked all over the world, and the last I've worked at international schools, private schools, and Islamic schools. The last 11 years, I was at New England's first full-time Islamic K through 12 school. And when I was working there, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, alhamdulillah, we had an outsized success, despite being a small Islamic school with a very limited budget, right? Who had done okay with college admissions before I came and so on. But alhamdulillah, since I arrived there and I sort of reorganized the program and really tried to think hard about this, alhamdulillah, we've had enormous success sending kids off to many of the country's best colleges. So about 18 months ago, I founded 5 Before College to help the ummah as a whole, the Muslim teenagers across the ummah, in order to get into the college of their dreams and launch them towards success in this world and the next. And I'm also a writer and have a newsletter and so on. And if you're on my email list, you get a lot of my emails. So the idea of 5 Before College, right? The first big idea, and I know some of you have heard this before, but it bears repeating, is that preparing for college does not start at the age which many of you are, right? Many of you are juniors and seniors, inshallah. But the time to prepare for college for your siblings and for your future children, right, starts way back in 8th, 9th grade, right, towards the end of middle school, right? Because if you start thinking about these things early, then you can make strategic decisions, which makes this end of the process that we're talking about today, the actual college applications, much easier. Now, mashallah, within this college essay bootcamp, many of you have very interesting, varied backgrounds. But sometimes I'm like, ooh, I wish I could go back to 9th grade summer. I wish I could have, helped you get an internship after 10th grade. Ooh, maybe we could have launched a passion project a little bit earlier than right now, and so on. So that's one idea, starting the five before college. The second idea is, and the reason I started this, is that there's this false dichotomy between deen or dunya. And many of the students have told me this, when they were talking to me, that mashallah, they've been to the masjid many times, and in the masjid you hear that success is completely, within Islam, which is of course true. That is entirely true. But it's so focused on just the dini side of things that like the dunya part gets left out. Meanwhile, when you're in most settings, academic settings, and other people, and even when you're around Muslims who are more sort of capitalistic and whatnot, it's all about dunya, 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 right? And so there's this battle. And I think I'm saying this from my own perspective. When I first became Muslim, mashallah, I went to Harvard and all that. I had a lot of opportunities at my fingertips, but I really turned my back on a lot of those things because I was so eager to protect my iman and protect my Islam. And alhamdulillah, I'm very glad Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided me to do that, and it was clearly the best thing for me to do. But I don't want people to think that that is the only way to be. Right? The best case scenario is we have spiritually intelligent Muslims who are striving for the best of dunya, but with the real goal of akhirah success. And so how do we actually do this? What do we do during those 5 years? And again, I'm not going to go spend too long on this, but we focus on the 5 before 5 hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, take benefit of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your health before sickness, your wealth before poverty, your free time before busyness, and your life before death. And mashallah, I've always loved this hadith, but when I thought about it in like college admissions and high school terms, I realized it was giving us the playbook for what we should be focusing on during those 5 years before college, right? We have to focus on our academics. As youth, your full-time job is to be a student, focus on academics. And the single most important key to academics, in my opinion, across whether you're STEM or humanities or anything, is reading. Students who read, they have the most success. We have to focus on our health before sickness. We need to be mentally and physically strong, right? The mu'min al-qawi, sorry, I don't want to mess the hadith up, but the strong believer is better than the weak believer. And we need to follow this, and we need to have a good exercise regimen. We need to focus on wealth before poverty. This is where, some things are falling short. We need to give financial education. We need to learn how to apply for scholarships. We need to do career exploration. We need to do high-level internships and research and all these things to try to get us established, in a career path at this early age, right? We need to focus on our free time, which is really a combination of our extracurriculars, our passion projects, those sorts of things, and then our friendships, who we spend the most time with. Right? And then finally, most importantly, we have to focus on our character, our akhlaq, and our faith, our iman. Those are the most important things, both obviously Islamically, but also in terms of what colleges are looking for. That last one is actually, that's the X factor that sets people apart, and that's what I hope to help you with. Okay, alhamdulillah, this formula works. These are some of the schools, that some former students of mine went to. Let me see if I can share this. To just share with sound. So I'm gonna reshare. All right. Noah, can you tell me if this is
this coming fall? I will be.
Yeah,
Can you
it's playing. Yeah, it's
all
playing
right.
good.
All right, Bismillah. So this is just a few of my students at the end of when I work with them, I always have them film a college reveal video where they tell people in an excited way where they're going to college. It's a fun tradition. So I sort of spliced together some of the kids' college reveals, and here it is.
Attending.
The college I'm going to be going to.
The college that I am committed to, inshallah, is
Elon University.
Lesley University.
Brandeis, inshallah.
Northeastern University.
Boston University.
Inshallah, I'll be going to Williams College, everybody.
Worcester Polytechnic Institute.
Dartmouth College.
Wellesley College.
We're going to UMass Amherst.
Northeastern University.
New York Stony Brook University.
Simmons University.
UMass Boston.
Massachusetts College of Art and Design.
Northwestern University.
UMass Amherst.
I am continuing the tradition of going to college, and I'm going to Brown University.
All right, alhamdulillah. Really nice to see. Oops, sorry. Really nice to see some of those former students. These are just a few things, as the students have said. Brother Hamza not only helped me reach the Ivy League, but also helped me figure out who I was from Yasin, who's at UPenn. Hamza's help was a godsend. He brought a wealth of knowledge to the table, knowledge that I, as a first-generation American Muslim, was not privy to. That's from Amina, who's at Williams. The way he speaks makes me want to open up a book and absorb new ideas. I like that one as an English teacher. Brother Hamza is the best teacher I ever had. My family is very happy and proud of me because of him. And Brother Hamza changed my life. He opened my eyes to reality that life is more than just getting into a good college. And I love that because it really emphasizes that college is obviously my specialty, but it's about so much more than that. All right. So, but the question is, obviously, I am a college coach, college consultant, whatever you'd like to call me. And the question is, why do we even need these things? Why does this profession exist? Why is it one of the fastest growing professions in the country? For public school students, one of the issues, and I'll show you this on the next slide, is that the public school system, the counselors are totally overwhelmed. They have way too many students on their caseload to possibly give them individualized attention. And it used to be that wealthy families would go out and hire a college consultant, and that they would get this extra help, they would get an extra step up. But increasingly, more and more people are turning towards this extra counseling in order to level the playing field. They're not paying the money for private education. They're not paying the money for even Islamic school. Some people, but they, then they do invest in college coaching because it has alhamdulillah very good results. Here are some crazy facts, right? That nationally, the average student to counselor ratio in public schools is 415 to 1. Right, that for every one college counselor, they have 415 people on their caseload. I cannot even fathom writing 415 recommendation letters, right? It takes me well over an hour, probably an hour and a half to write a recommendation letter. And that's after I've digested the brag sheet and thought everything about it. That seems like a year's worth of work. I can't even imagine. The average person working with a college consultant, or average college consultant, has 24 students that they work with. So they get much more, one-on-one attention. The average public school student receives 38 minutes of college counseling over 4 years. The average person, so IECA stands for Independent Educational Consultants Association. That's a professional organization that I've recently joined. So the average person who works with a private consultant gets over 22 hours. So 22 hours with an expert versus 38 minutes, you can see a huge difference. And 6 out of 10 didn't get any college advising, right? Students didn't get any college advising. So it's pretty crazy. I'm not going to go through this, but this is your own state. You can maybe find your own state. But across the board, New Hampshire is just about the best, and Vermont with only 200 to 1 ratio, right? And there we have Michigan close to 600. It's pretty crazy and sobering. Massachusetts, I know a lot of us are there. Average is 344 students per consultant in Massachusetts. And those consultants, yeah. Anyway, who actually uses these? Is this the domain of just the wealthy, right? So the typical public school, the typical client of a college consultant is a public school student attending a large suburban school, but there are also clients who are urban and suburban, rural, homeschooled, Islamic schools, some private schools even, and so on. 27%, they do come from sort of the wealthy classes. So, these are people, whose families are probably, doing pretty well. But 25% come from middle class, working class, or impoverished classes. So there are a lot of people working with college consultants. It's not just the domain of the ultra wealthy. All right. The other thing is, obviously we talk a lot about helping you get into college, right? But getting in is only part of the battle, right? Getting in is only part of the battle. It's also about getting through college. Getting in, you just got your foot in the door, but you actually want to get the fruit of the college, which is the degree at the end. Look at some of these statistics. So only about 50% of high school students attend college. So 50% don't make it. I'm sure I don't have the exact statistics within the Muslim community, but we're, alhamdulillah, a very highly educated community who values education. So I suspect it's a bit higher than that, but it's certainly not 100%. Then 4.8 million students transfer colleges after 1 year. And that's largely because they didn't find the right fit. Their college process and the advice that they got and the schools that they applied to didn't necessarily match who they were, or they didn't put their best application forward, so they didn't get into their top choice schools, and they're trying to transfer afterwards. After 4 years, only about 41% of people, of students who entered a 4-year college, actually graduate. After 6 years, only 62%. So the overall attrition, right, which is the number of people who enter college and don't end up getting degrees, is 40 to 50%. So if you put all those stats together, only about 1 in 4 high school students is ever getting a bachelor's degree, let alone a master's degree, let alone a PhD or an MBA or an MD or any of those other degrees that we want for our children, right? So getting in is part of the battle. Getting into the right school, the school that fits, the school where you're likely to actually graduate and go on to future success, that's a huge part of the mission of myself and people like me in this profession. All right, then, within our Muslim community, we have specific challenges, right? That many of the families here, actually, I'd be interested in the chat. For the students, you can talk about your parents, and for the parents, you can talk about yourselves. How many people, either their parents or themselves, did not go to university in the United States? Okay, one or more of the parents, you can just put in the chat, like whether your parents attended university in the States or whether you attended university in the States. I'd be interested. Let's see. People are able to put that in the chat. It would be helpful just to get some data. I'll set up a poll next time. Neither of my parents attended US university. Mine didn't attend university in the States, okay? I've asked this question a number of times, and usually in the groups that I'm with, I would say it's about 2/3 did not go to school here, and about 1/3 their parents did go to undergrad here. A lot of people did their masters here. That's what ultimately brought them to the States. But it's always a mixed group. But whether you did or you didn't, right? The American education higher ed system is pretty complicated. It's ever changing. Supreme Court's changing things and so on. It's important to stay up to date with those things. And also, it's not as simple as it is in a lot of other places. There's so many nuances. I mean, the reason my profession exists, right, is that it's so complicated. And you do need to keep on top of so many things. There's also very much a lack of high quality content for a Muslim American audience. Obviously, our goals when we go to college are a little bit different. Our challenges are a little bit different, right? We're looking at things like, does the dining hall have halal food. We're looking at whether the school has a full-time Muslim chaplain, or the size of their MSA, or how many people pray Jummah there, right? We're looking for ways that, you know, we can help our children, you know, maintain their iman during these very difficult years of youth, right? There's a door in Jannah reserved for the youth who you know, who stays connected to the masjid and stays connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because, you know, they say ash'ab shu'batin min al-junun, that the youth is a portion of madness. So this is a very difficult time. You know, I know from my own personal experiences and watching so many students go through it, college can be a really, really trying time on your iman, and we want to create a community where people can, you know, help one another through those difficulties. And then, of course, you know, there are fears of Islamophobia, right? And there are questions about, you know, how open should we be about Islam in our applications? You know, what if people are judging us? Like, these are questions that many families have. They want, you know, they want answered. All right. College campuses give our children an international platform. I think I may have played this for some of the CEB people, but I wanted to do it here. So this is a video of a girl in Gaza. And what we noticed with Gaza was, obviously, I'm sure many of us participated in protests locally. I know I see quite a few in Sharon. I know there were a lot of protests in Sharon. I went to a bunch of those, right? But they weren't really getting traction, and, you know, they weren't front page headlines until some of these top universities got involved, right? Columbia in particular, but then it spread to, you know, Harvard and MIT and, you know, all over the place. You know, so many you know, people did that. And so this is a really good video that shows sort of the power of, you know, having our children at these
احنا اهل غزة بنبسط كتير لما نشوف طلاب امريكا واقفين معانا وحاسين فينا، وجينا نشكركم بطريقتنا البسيطة. بتمنى تستقبلوها بحب. شكرا كولومبيا، شكرا أوروبي، شكرا سينسفور، شكرا ملاشي، شكرا شكرا UCLA، شكرا students for justice in Palestine.
Right. So I really love that video, just because it, you know, obviously nothing is tugging at the heartstrings of the ummah more than the atrocities going on in Gaza. And, you know, some people, you know, have said, you know, why should we even, you know, think about these top colleges during this time? The reality is that the people making these decisions, the people who are walking the halls of power, very frequently, you know, have very high academic pedigrees, and I desperately want to help Muslim students, you know, be in those positions, you know, so that we can, you know, fix this. So this is sort of my vision, right? A generation of spiritually intelligent Muslim leaders, okay, who are striving for Jannat al-Firdaus and aiming to fix this broken world that we're living in. Right? Magnetic Muslims who attract people to Islam through their akhlaq, right? This is very close to my heart, and I talk about it a lot. And I think part of it is based on my own story of how I became Muslim. There was and I know many of you have probably heard this this story before, but there was a student at college with, sorry, in high school with me, named Nabil, who introduced me to Islam. And he did it not by giving me da'wah, but by showing me the beauty of Islam. He used to practice a lot of the sunnah. He used to be, you know, making wudu with a miswak, you know, when we were all brushing our teeth. He used to be making wudu. He used to be putting his feet in the sink, you know, and while we were getting ready for bed. He used to, you know, eat with his hands, like in the sunnah style, like, and you know, and all sorts of other things where he just looked totally different. We used to hear him calling the adhan. We used to see him with his head on the floor. And, through his actions and through following the sunnah, right, it had this magnetic attraction. And that's what I desperately want. Obviously there are Muslims of all different stripes, and I want to help everyone, and I want to help non-Muslims as well with this whole process. But the reality is that most of the people who are attracted towards me and what I'm talking about are practicing Muslims who have these particular concerns. And what I really want to do is help your children, be able to, be like a Nabil for other people, and help bring people towards Islam. I also really want to help Muslims, to put it bluntly, make a lot of money. I think that we have enormous privilege here in this country. Like, many people would die to have the opportunities that we have. And I think, it's certainly not the only thing you need. And there are many people who lead very fulfilling lives which don't go in this direction. But I think that, these universities can be a path towards towards building generational wealth, towards being able to, create world-class institutions, and donate buildings to campuses and build incredible Islamic centers and so on. It's not the path for everyone, but I think there are people in this group who I've met, who this can be their future if they play their cards right. And also, my vision is also to help broaden the scope of the professions we pursue. Right? There's, while we do need Muslim doctors and engineers and computer scientists and lawyers, there are so many other professions out there that I think, again, we need to have a little bit more imagination of, what our children might be able to do, and for children to think beyond that. So those are some of my visions. One of the things I really try to get through to the students is this idea that your I can is more important than your IQ, right? That, I think school privileges a certain type of intelligence, right? Which is often measured by IQ, sort of quickness, organizational skills, that sort of thing, right? But your I can, right? This can-do attitude, this belief that you are capable of, accomplishing your dreams and goals, is more important. That's the predicting factor of future success, right? I've had many students in the past, right, who were not at the top of their class, right? But they had this self-belief, and they had this persistence and grit and tenacity. And now when I've seen them 10 years later and I see what they're doing with their lives, those are the most successful students, right? And sometimes, I don't want to say it, but sometimes being a really strong student it's not a curse, astaghfirullah, but it can actually hold you back. I think it held me back, right? Alhamdulillah, grades and everything always came relatively easily to me. But as a result, I didn't want to take a lot of chances. And I didn't, do things, follow my dreams, like starting a company like this, until I was in my mid-40s. I wish that I'd done this, a long time ago, so I could have built this so much earlier and faster. And much more importantly, your iman is more important than your I can. Your iman is your source of your I can, right? That when we fully come onto the deen and we have yaqeen in the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And we are making dua, sincere dua, and envisioning what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of and begging him to use us for that, right? We can really do anything, right? That's what we want to get across to our children. Right, and alhamdulillah, I have a lot of students, just to highlight a couple of them. This is Inji, alhamdulillah, she's just graduated from Brown. She's inshallah going off to medical school soon. It's rare to find a mentor so deeply invested in the success and happiness of their students. Brother Hamza not only spent the time to get to know every one of his students on a personal level, but he's also incredibly knowledgeable about how to use that information to their benefit. During the beginning of my college application process, Brother Hamza set me up with a strong foundation, pushing me to reflect on experiences that shaped me. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, so how does 5 before college work, right? And I understand that a lot of you guys maybe, because I did mention this was more specifically for juniors and seniors, but I want you to understand sort of my vision for what I'm trying to do here, right? So ideally, I like to work with people, as I said, 5 years before college. So back in the beginning, end of middle school, very beginning of high school, and I have a program called Find Your Qibla. Right? And the goal of Find Your Qibla is to, first of all, establish that akhirah orientation, all the stuff we've been talking about here, right? And then to figure out your dunyawi North Star, your dunyawi Qibla, like what are you actually trying to do with your life, right? What are your big goals, right? Like long-term visioning, and then launching a passion project. So passion project is often the deciding factor in high level college admissions, right? This is something where no one else has that passion project. So these are things like starting an NGO or starting a small business or launching a podcast, or one of my students is building a prophetic vegetable garden, right? Where she's trying to take a city block in Detroit and plant vegetables and plants that were mentioned in the Quran and so on. Like, so there are, lots of different ideas, but the idea of this is a fairly intensive 8-week program to try to launch people towards that. Then there's Find Your Qibla Squared, right? So Find Your Qibla Squared is sort of like the follow-on program. Once they've been launched, then they sort of stay in orbit through regular accountability. We're trying to scale that passion project. Okay, we're trying to make it not just die on the vine, but actually turn into something big. All the entrepreneurship classes and things that I've learned, I try to give to these students. In addition, giving them extra academic, extracurricular leadership training, trying to make them the best candidates they can be, and spend their time in high school wisely. And then towards the end with the juniors and seniors, right? That's when we get into the main topic for today, the Ivy cohort, right? And so the idea of this, right, is this is the more transactional, functional end of the college application journey. This is, most educational consultants only deal with juniors and seniors, right? It's relatively rare to work on, these people in the first half of high school. I think because I learned about Islam in 9th grade, I became Muslim in 10th grade. That's why that first half is so critical to me. But ultimately, I know that the proof is in the pudding, and this is where the real magic happens towards the end, right? And so there are a lot of things that go into this, and we'll talk a little bit more in future slides, but you need to build a great college list strategically, right? Focusing on fit, focusing on schools that are going to match, where you're likely to thrive and get through, focusing on scholarships and the financial side, the financial side, and there are ways to obviously higher ed is incredibly expensive. It's often, one of the most expensive things that you'll have to face, but there are ways to limit that and even get full rides and things like that. Deadline management, right? Keeping kids on track, right? So that doesn't become a battle with their parents. They have an outside third party who, is setting expectations and expecting the kids to meet them. And obviously, this is what we really focus on in the boot camp that we're finishing up now, is the application mastery. Okay, so here are, again, some of the benefits, right? So affordability and cost advising, right? Success, not just on the way to college, but once you're in college and getting through college, right? Thinking about the factors that influence your college list. When I'm meeting with a lot of the bootcamp people, a lot of people just sort of list off the brand name schools that everyone's heard of, right? They're not as well aware of all the colleges that we have in the country and so on. Obviously testing, SATs and things like that. There are a lot of thoughts about that, right? Learning about the students. I think, the whole 5 before college thing, I knew my students after working with them for 5 full years, right? I used to teach 6th grade, 9th and 10th grade English. Then I was their guidance counselor in 11th and 12th grade. I had spent 5 full years with those students. And that's what I'm trying to recreate on an ummah scale where we can do that. College visits, an incredibly important part. helping them grow, the essay, the applications, the recommendation letters. We just gave something about that last night. Academic advising, building the college list, career exploration. So these are all the sorts of things, again, in the Ivy cohort end of things that we would focus on. I think the big idea of this one is that, the college search is sort of a rite of passage, right? Like the reason I love working on kids on their essays and their applications is because, and I've seen this very much in the boot camp, it's like the first time that kids are sort of doing this big picture thinking about who they are and what they want to do with their lives. And a lot of times they have these breakthroughs. Students will send me emails and texts and things like, I've never thought about that before. I had tears in my eyes when I was reading my college essay. I can't believe that I'm ready to share this, right? It's deeply impactful, right? And so the college process, right, really helps with that, and it's an essential step in adolescent development, and it's great to have an expert along your side. So how does the Ivy cohort work, right? So these are some of the different features, and in full disclosure, I'm continuing to develop this partially based on your feedback, the sorts of questions that you ask me today. I want this to be the best possible resource that you have, and whatever you clients and students and parents need, I want to try to provide that if I have the skills, and if I don't have the skills, I want to go out and find people who do to help them. So the biweekly workshops would cover all those different topics that we did before. I'm ultimately at heart, I'm a classroom teacher. I love teaching a group of students, and having these workshops every 2 weeks. It will be a live event. I found, especially the boot camp, that doing these live events, we're doing daily live events right now, that's when the students get the most benefit. A lot of programs will have a lot of recorded things, and definitely we will record everything and it will be in a video library. But when you're able to be there live and get your questions answered live, you get so much more benefit like we're doing right now. Monthly one-on-ones. A lot of people, they want to work with me, and it's very important to get that personalized attention. So that's a big part of our program. Personal WhatsApp group. So when people join this, we'll set up a WhatsApp group with the parents and the student. So then you have like anytime access. I really like, a lot of times things can be solved asynchronously, right, through voice notes back and forth, right? So I just use WhatsApp. It's relatively simple. Some people use Voxer or other things like that, but it's a way to really get support whenever you need it, and not just have to wait until the next meeting that's scheduled. And then one-on-one mentorship for the essays, right? So you guys have experienced that. Anyone who's in the premium level of the College Essay Bootcamp have been working with our incredible team of mentors. These are kids going off to Harvard, Columbia, graduates from MIT, people who got full ride scholarships, people who got Gates scholars and Google Generation scholars. These are like some of the best Muslim kids. Alhamdulillah, by nature of what I do, amazing people come my way, and when I think they're a good fit, I try to recruit them to become a mentor to help inspire other kids. And inshallah, I know that people in the boot camp, inshallah, have been benefiting from this. Maybe if we have time, they can mention some. And then also, premium college planning software. So there are lots of tools that you can use to keep students on track, to keep parents well informed of deadlines, and to do a very comprehensive college search and see what's all involved in it. So these are some of the main things. So who is this for? Who is the Ivy cohort for? Ambitious Muslim juniors and seniors striving for the highest levels of success in this world and the next. Muslim families who are looking for comprehensive college and life coaching to help unlock competitive scholarship opportunities and top-tier admissions results. Okay? And parents who want a structured, faith-driven plan to guide their child through the college journey. Right? I think the deen and dunya is really something that I think is fairly unique to the 5 before college ethos and so on, and it's very much baked into who I am and what I care most about. So this is one last one. This is one of our current mentors, Dina, who graduated from Al Noor, where I taught, and then she went on to MIT. She did a master's at MIT. She now works for Microsoft, and she now works with 5E4 College, helping mentor our students. So she wrote this when she graduated from high school. She said, "When I first met Brother Hamza, I was in the 8th grade. He treated me like I wasn't a child, even though I was, and technically still am. He received all my ridiculousness with appreciation and understanding. He showed me that someone like me could live an interesting, fulfilled life. Up until becoming his student, I felt like an outlier for whom there was no place in the normal world. But in fact, there was a place for people like me, his classroom." So, alhamdulillah. Okay, so how does this all work logistically? So essentially, the Ivy cohort, as it sort of implies by the name, is aimed at students who are aiming for top tier schools, right? Not everyone needs to do something like this. If you're planning to apply to the local public college with a very high acceptance rate, right there. Some of our other programs, Find Your Qibla, is great, because it's not so focused on admissions. But if you are aiming high, right, and you do want to go, and a lot of the CEB people have a lot of the best schools in the country on their list, those are the sorts of people who would most likely to this. Okay, so essentially what happens is you can book a link for an Ivy cohort interview, and that's an interview with me, 45-minute interview. One of the things that I'm going to be looking at in that interview, before the interview, is a brag sheet. Now, those of you who are in CEB have already filled in the brag sheet. You know what it's all about. It is a pretty comprehensive look. It's actually the exact thing that I give my own students that's helped me give them great recommendation letters. It's honestly worth just applying just to go through the process of filling that in, because it will help you clarify a lot of your visions and goals. And so here is the link to. So essentially, you book the meeting, and then after you book the meeting, it will send you the brag sheet. Again, if you're in College Essay Bootcamp, you don't need to do that. And I will send this stuff out to people. So that is it. I'm actually on vacation next week, so you'll see the meetings wouldn't start until the week after that. But I'm hopeful that there will be people who are here in CEB who would like to do this. I'm hopeful that there are people from the wider community who came tonight who might be interested in the Ivy cohort, and also that you all know other people, right? Maybe your children aren't the right age, or they're not the right profile. You know other people. I really do have a mission of helping the ummah as a whole, so I highly recommend that you do this. We have about 10 minutes left for questions and answers, and anything else that might be on your mind. So feel free to put anything in the chat, or just unmute yourself. Sorry, that light is annoying behind me. Let me switch this. Okay, let's see. The link isn't working. Uh-oh, that's not good. That's not good. All right, let me go into my Calendly and see what's going on. Oh, it's not turned on. An important step. Okay, let's see if the link is working now. Yep, so the link should be working now. I just forgot to turn it on before. So, inshallah. Any other questions? Can you clarify one more time what this provides beyond CEB Premium? Great question. So CEB Premium was focused on getting the application for your top choice college done, right? So they were doing their activities list, they were doing their personal statement, and they were doing their supplements for one particular college, right? many people, after talking to the premium students during our one-on-ones, are applying to 15 to 20 colleges, right? Each of those colleges, the top tier colleges at least, have their own supplemental essays, right? And so, in other words, they're not going to have, you know, continued support from mentors and from myself, you know, beyond CEB for all those other colleges, right? So that is, you know, this was sort of a 2-week thing. Some of them will be meeting with their mentors up till the end of August. But essentially, if you want mentorship and assistance with the entire process, from the financial aid to the, you know, strategy of where to apply early, to the you know, how to interpret, you know, the you know, decisions, to making your final decision and so on, like the whole, you know, scope of what college consultants do. And then another good question was, what grade is it for? And as Ruhina, my wife, put in the chat, it's for 11th and 12th graders. So a lot of you know, like with the current CEB people, like I sort of failed you by not starting this company 15 years ago, and then I could have helped you from the very beginning, right? But alhamdulillah, I started it now, so I want to help you however I can right now, and that's why we did this sort of like, you know, boot camp. And I, you know, and I think it was very, very successful, and inshallah it will help you. It will help you a lot. But I really want to get people in. Like we were in Omar's session yesterday. Omar is a student, one of our mentors who's going to Harvard next year. And he was sort of giving his whole playbook for how he got 23 college applications done before the end of August of his summer before senior year. And I was just like, subhanAllah, like these are seniors who are hearing this, and they needed to hear this last year, right? They needed to hear, because then they could have been so far ahead with this process. So I really want to get juniors in there. Junior year is really one of the most critical years in the whole college process. Ideally, you will be done with your standardized test, you will have built your college list, and you will, you know, really know how to spend that summer, you know, to get your college applications done. So you really want to be working on this, you know, from early on in junior year, which is why I asked those people to come here. How long is the program? Weeks, months? So this program is it's a 1-year program, renewable. So, you know, juniors can do it, and it's you know, so it's like a you know, their junior year, a 12-month program, and then seniors also can do it. So that's sort of how it's structured. So unlike like Find Your Qibla, which is sort of a fairly intensive 8-week program, this is a longer, more comprehensive support program, sort of hybrid between the group classes, between the one-on-ones, and so on. How would a senior benefit if he or she has already dived into his application process, especially via CEB? Okay, so I hope I answered that, right? And maybe the College Essay Bootcamp students can also do it. Like my hope is that you have, by the end of CEB, a fantastic application to your top choice school. But when you look into it, I should have put this slide in there. I looked at it last year, that if you apply to a certain number of schools, I looked it up, you have to write something like 15,000 words, right, over the process of, like Omar last summer applying to 23 colleges, he probably wrote something close to that. So you can't do all that in 2 weeks, right? We tried our best and so on. But the promise of CEB was not, we'll get you done with all of your college applications, right? It's we will get you launched with this. But obviously, if you got enough out of CEB, or you're not applying to these ultra competitive schools, then maybe you've definitely already gotten enough. But you know, this is a goal, because I've gotten a lot of questions like, okay, I've really enjoyed this. My kid has benefited so much. I've seen them grow. How can we continue to work with you? And that's, you know, that's where this program comes from. Let's see. Yep. I may miss this, but for applying to college, does high school you graduate matter? So you're evaluated based on you know, which school you applied for. So if you come from Phillips Andover versus you come from a rural school in Arkansas, they're not going to expect you to have the same background, the same SAT scores, all that sort of thing. So sometimes applying from a smaller school, like I think one of the reasons for our success from the Islamic school was that our students looked different than everyone else. Alhamdulillah, they had really good applications, they had really good recommendation letters, but they also just looked dramatically different than all the other students that were out there. And so obviously the quality of education can vary from school to school, but yeah. Other questions? Can you guide an accelerated medical school pathway? Anything specific? Yeah, so I don't want to go into too many like direct specifics around like programs and things like that, because that's maybe this isn't the place to do it. But absolutely, I know a lot of Muslims are interested in that. I have mentors, not the ones who are actually part of this program, but other people that I've lined up who are currently in medical school or finished medical school, they're MDs, but they desperately want to help other Muslims on that medical process. I think that's the thing. Like, I really want this to be a gathering point. Like some of those bi-weekly workshops, I want to invite someone like that in who can share information, who's an expert in those fields. Alhamdulillah, things that I don't necessarily know or I'm not an expert in, I probably have connections who are, and if that's something that people want a whole session on, seven-year medical programs, we can try to provide that. Perhaps the student isn't sure of their major. Can this program help them navigate that? 100%. I think that's a huge thing. I think even Find Your Qibla and the earlier programs also help talk about that. But definitely it's not just about getting into college. It's about getting through and doing things that are going to make the most different for you, even if a senior. I mean, yes, like I think. I don't know. I don't know if any of the students are willing to share, but like even in like the early application strategy sessions, which I've had with the students in premium, like I felt like we've gotten into some pretty important stuff about what they're trying to do, right? Sometimes reading between the lines, a student's telling me that they want to study one thing, but their whole application and their whole everything is sort of suggesting something else. Like they're almost trying to convince themselves that they want to study this other thing, right? And I think 100% like meeting, talking to people, talking it out is really, really important. A lot of times it's hard for parents to have these conversations with students. This is what parents have told me. I've experienced it with my own children, right? It's very hard to have like that serious adult conversation and so on. Oftentimes, the kids will run away from that sort of thing, right? Whereas somehow having a third party person, especially someone who's sort of inshallah kind and understanding and empathetic and so on, you can often get into some pretty deep core issues, right? There is a like life coaching component to this, and ultimately we're trying to help the students succeed in their overall lives, and college is just a stepping stone towards that. Or not. How can I maintain my deen in college? Yes, that's absolutely. So I have alhamdulillah connections to lots of like Islamic scholars who have advised a lot of students on like like these. Dina actually told me a story once. When she was at MIT, she was the head of the MSA there at MIT, and during Islam Awareness Week, the LGBT group came and they supported Islam Awareness Week. They marched to them or whatever, attended their event. Right? And then Pride Week came later in the spring or whatever. And so they essentially came and said, hey, we scratched your back. Can you come and scratch ours? And so she's put in this very awkward position, where that wasn't something she was Islamically comfortable with. And so she reached back out to the head of our school, Brother Sufyan, who was able to give her, a playbook and a way to answer that in a way that doesn't necessarily alienate people, but also stakes out our ground and lets us stand with our values. So 100%, I like my focus right now has been 5 before college. I think we need to ultimately expand to 5 during college and 5 after college, right? We need to help people actually maintain their Iman and Islam and in those years during college. And then we really need to help our young Muslims launch towards success in their careers and help them get that career advice. And I think, inshallah, as the company grows and as more and more people get involved, and I get more experts on board with me, we can continue to serve those needs. So my hope is that it's longer than a 5-year relationship. But for right now, to keep the focus, I am focusing on the college undergraduate admissions for the most part. Let's see, anything else? So there are some questions about the fees and so on. That stuff I want to talk about on within the calls. I know Muslim families are of different sorts, as you saw with the CEB. We tried to make that open, at least at the essential level, for people of different budgets with and so on. And so I don't want people to not book a meeting and not do this because of fear of price and so on. Absolutely, if you get accepted, it's not an early decision type situation where you have to do it and so on. And obviously, we can figure out payment plans and things like that. So those are conversations best done individually. If a senior joins now after December, what would be reviewed? So yeah, this is really for seniors like CEB seniors who are about to start their senior year, right? So I think by the time you've applied to all your colleges January 1st, it wouldn't make too much sense. Of course, you could come and ask me for advice or something like that, but I wouldn't have been helping you throughout the process. So this is really, if seniors want to do it, to be honest, like I said, it's a little late in the game. Like ideally, we would have started this last year with you, but we got to do what we got to do, and seniors are able to join. All right, I'm seeing those are most of the questions. If there's anything else, you can let me know. But I think most of it's been covered. We're only 3 minutes over, alhamdulillah. So that's pretty good. So Jazakallah khair. For the people, I'm going to stop sharing. For the people in the college essay bootcamp, we just have 2 more sessions. So tomorrow afternoon, I think it's 12 to 2, but we have to look for sure. There is the final working session. So this is a chance, hopefully you've gotten your supplements going and you're ready to really sink your teeth into that. I made it 2 hours long this time, so that there would be plenty of time for people. Also in the main room, I'm going to be talking about some other things, list building and trying to potentially add some colleges to your list, because that's one of the things I found with the one-on-one meetings that some of you could really benefit from adding a few other colleges to your list that maybe you're not as familiar with and so on. So I want to talk about some stuff like that. So I'll be doing some teaching in the main room during that session. And then there will also be the mentors in the breakout rooms working with you one-on-one and so on. And then we have our celebration call, and I'll give you all the details about that. So in any case, Jazakallah khair. It was wonderful to see all the CEB people, all the other people who made it to the meeting. Inshallah, I will try to send a recording of this and the slides to the people who registered. And like I said, if you haven't booked the meeting, please try to do so. And again, I will put that link in the follow-up email, inshallah. All right, Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.